In today's video, we're checking out a brand new switcher from a company called OTON. This is the Geek S06-A. It's a 6-channel HDMI live streaming system and recorder. And one of the cool things about this is you don't need a computer to stream, but it will be detected as a webcam. It works great with OBS, Open Broadcaster software, and it can be used in a number of different situations. So this kind of compares very favorably to that of the ATEM Mini Pro. What I'll do is leave timestamps in the description of this video so you can skip ahead back or forth to each individual section of the video. I encourage you to check out the audio section of this, as I think this is where this unit absolutely shines. It's got a few other tricks up its sleeve, which is pretty good as well. Full disclosure, I've been sent this live switcher for the review. I didn't buy it, nor am I being paid to promote it or anything like that, so all the thoughts about this will be my own. Now, I've reviewed maybe 5 or 6 switches in the last 12 months, so I'm keen to see just how this stacks up. And after using it for the last few days, I have some really positive things to say about it, and a few things that you'll need to know going into it. Now, if all this works well, you're actually listening to my Rodecaster Pro going into the unit. So I've got a shotgun microphone above my head, and I don't need to do anything to sync the audio. Yes! So if you're doing podcasting or anything like that with external audio, this is the kind of sound quality you can get, and I love it. Now, you might be saying, hey, how come you're wearing this? Just in case. It's always good to have a little sense of redundancy. When it comes to the OTON Geek S06, the first thing I noticed was the build quality. It's built extremely well, and this is how it stacks up size-wise against the ATEM Mini. So if you've got an ATEM Mini or an ATEM Mini Pro, they're quite a lot smaller. And as you can see, the buttons are a whole lot larger on this, which I really like. But there's one thing to take note of, that these buttons are a little bit more clicky in the hand. So you do hear an audible click, which may or may not be a deal breaker, but it's worth pointing that out. I'll show the difference now. I'll switch on the ATEM. I'll just leave it on the desk in the same spot. And now I'll go over to this switcher. Now, whether or not that's loud enough to really cause any type of problem, if you're a solo live streamer, for example, that's up to you. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I actually don't mind the click, but if you're using a shotgun microphone, it's kind of pointing down, you will hear it on your live stream. So I've got mine angled towards my face, and that, if you could hear it, is how it sounds in the room. Let's quickly go through the inputs and outputs on this particular device, and I've tested all of them right now. So we have 4 HDMI inputs over here. We have a multi-view out, which I'll put that on screen right now so you can see exactly what the multi-view is doing. I'll switch cameras so you can see exactly what's happening. I'll explain more about this in just a moment, but it's great having a dedicated multi-view output. And then we also have a program HDMI output. It's really great having that multi-view out. I've got the multi-view on this particular monitor on my right, and I have the program out on the left. Having the program is fantastic because that's what's going live to your audience. Additionally, we get 2 analog inputs. We get a left and right, and these are great because what this allows you to do is to run external audio in. So you could run everything through a mixer, then into this, and it will be in sync. Yes! So unlike all the other units I've tested, whether it be the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro, the AV Matrix, you have to sort of get the audio in sync. This will do it for you. So if you're doing a podcast or something like that, this would be invaluable. Next to the audio inputs, we get a headphone output. Now, if you've ever manned one of these before for someone else, you'll know that there's a slight delay between when you talk and what you hear back on the headphones. So if you're going to be using this with headphones, you can't. You'll end up confusing yourself because your speech comes out about half a second slower than normal, and you tend to want to keep talking slower. So you need to plug your headphones into something like a Rodecaster Pro or some other audio solution and hear that in real time, and then you'll be good to go. So I would only suggest using that 3.5mm headphone jack if you're going to be producing a video on behalf of someone else. Over here we get 2 USB ports. This bottom one is currently connected to my MacBook. I can stream as a webcam thanks to the technology built in with this. You don't need any drivers. Plug it in and it will work in QuickTime. It will also work with programs like Open Broadcaster software, which is what this is designed to use. But you can also use it without that stuff, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Now, when it comes to the Ethernet port, this serves a number of different purposes. So if you load up a browser, you can find the IP address of the switcher, connect to it, and I'll show you more about that in just a moment. You can change all the parameters internally within this, or you can use a lot of just the hardware keys on the front, which I think is really fantastic. Secondly, this will allow you to stream directly to the web just by hitting the live button over here. I also wanted to talk about the USB 3.0 port over here. So if we take a look at the top of the unit, there's a record button right on the top. The idea is to plug a USB stick into the back and you can hit record much like on an ATEM Mini Pro. Now, one of the advantages this has over a lot of other units is thanks to that USB port, we can plug in a drive and actually switch between pictures on screen. See, we've got 6 buttons as opposed to just 4 like all on the others. Now, I only have 4 connected right now. I've got my main view, I've got the overhead, I've got the lowdown view, and I've got my Super Nintendo Mini. And you can absolutely mix audio from different HDMI sources. We'll talk more about the audio in just a moment, but I love the fact that you can also use this to import images. Being it says HD video switcher on the front, it can only do up to 1080p at 60 frames per second. If you live in a PAL region like I do, it supports 50 frames. It also supports a lot of other frame rates up to a maximum of 1080p 60. I'll leave all the information on screen. When it comes to the capability of the USB port, my favorite feature is the ability to import images, which you can use thanks to the additional buttons over here. So I've currently got this one on 6, I'm pretty sure. Let's take a look. Yep, and there we go. So that's a photo of me using an Insta360 camera out at the park, and that's a 360-degree photo that I kind of just moved around. So that's actually being read directly off the USB stick. Now, the resolution of that photo is not very good, but you get the point. So one of the cool things about this as well, if you want to cycle through the files that you've got, you can hit File here, and then on the multi-view, you'll see the different images come up in terms of their name. So I've got a few stored in here. That one's called Screen, that one's called Screen something else. Let's try that one and see what happens. So this is me walking again with the invisible selfie stick. So while I don't look happy in that photo, it was a good day. It was just cold. So yeah, it's great to be able to share photos with the audience like that. Now, just a quick tip here. If you're going to be using this type of feature, create a folder in the USB stick called Play, and then you can drop those files into that Play folder, and then it will show up on the unit. If you don't, you won't see anything in that list. So let's cover the audio side of this, because this will be an absolute game changer for people who want to do different types of audio mixing on the fly for a live stream. So when it comes to the top-down view here, I love the way they've laid this out. Above each of the channel buttons here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we can switch to from, say, the HDMI sources, we get the audio options above each of the channels. So we get we get the same 4 options per channel. So these are all the same, which is great for those first 4. Makes it nice and simple to see exactly what's going on. We get an on button, we get a reset button, and a volume up and down on each of the channels. Now, you might notice none of them are on right now. That's because I'm using this one as on, which corresponds to this audio input on the back. If I was using the in right, then I would need to go over here and turn on this one as well, but I'm not. So I'm only using the one, and it works great like this. But say you're doing gaming, for example, and you want to get the audio from, say, your favorite game, to your audience. How do you do that? It couldn't be more simple. So let's take a look at the top-down view again. To get channel 4 audio on, we click the on button. We sometimes have to hit it twice, so it might be a double tap on that one. But basically that's it. Now you should be hearing the game audio and my voice audio at the same time. Now, if you want to change the volume of one or the other track, it's nice and simple again. All you need to do is use these buttons here above number 4, because that's where the game is currently set. You can switch this up and down just at the click of a button. Now, if you're a gamer, you're gonna love the fact you can do picture in picture, and while I'm taking up a lot of the screen right now in the picture in picture, you can change that no problems at all. Now, one of the cool things about this, and I'll change views over to here, is this top row responds to whatever is the largest image on screen. So this is your main view. All the picture in picture ones are the bottom view here. So as you can see, just by touching a button, I'm completely changing what you see in the picture in picture, or I can just swap what you see behind it in the main view. So program is the main view, preview is the picture in picture in this particular view. I love this. I think this opens up a world of possibilities, so you can have both of you on screen like this. But yeah, to turn it off, hit picture in picture again, boom, and it is gone. So in terms of its functionality, just as it is, it's great. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can customize this in just a moment, but I want to give you an overview of what we've got going on. Another cool thing about the HD video switcher is its logo support. We get 2 buttons, we can just toggle them on and off. Now, this is just the stock one assigned to both positions right now, but you can change the logo type, you can upload your own to the unit, And then you can also change the position of it. But I just wanted to show you how simple it was to get your logo on screen if you want to burn that in. Let's talk a little bit about some of the transitions and the hardware keys that correspond to it. So over here, we can either fade between views or we can just cut by using the program buttons, which you've seen all video. So now I've got 3 queued up and I'm currently live on 2. If I hit this take button, you're gonna see it fade across, and we can change the effect from 2 seconds to 3 to 4 to 5 using these buttons across, I'll show you, across the top here. So that can change the duration of the cut. Now we can also store up to 3 different effects at any one time. I'm not a big fan of some of these, but I'll show you how it works. So if I hit this one right here, I'll go to 3 and then we hit take. So that's one of them that I've got stored. Here's another one. So these might be cool, but I just think they look a little laggy and a little bit weird. If it was me, I would just be using either the fade like this, which looks fantastic, or I'd just be using the cut. I think the cut just works extremely well. Up next, I'm going to show you some of the pros and cons of the software that's provided with this unit, because I really feel like this is kind of a deal breaker for some people, but it's also extremely functional for others. I love the fact you don't need any specialty software. It's just some of the interface I don't love, and I'll show you that right now. But if you connect this to your local network at home, log it into your router or modem router, and then find the IP address over the network, and then all you have to do is punch in the IP address of the unit, and you'll be presented with a login, and password and username is both admin, at least by default. And then you're greeted with this particular page right here. Now, as you can see, we've got our interface information at the top, and this all is 1080p minus HDMI 4, which is the Super Nintendo, coming in at 720p, and the output is set to 1080p 50, being that I'm in a PAL region, so I love that. It's nice and easy to set up. Now, host settings, there's not much to really know about here, but if you want to sync your time over the network, click that box at the top. Now, we can also change the display options, which I'll talk more about in just a moment. We can also do that on the unit itself, but let's go to application setting here. Now, as you can see, the program output can be set here. So depending on your particular output frame rate, you can pull down that menu and basically select the one that's appropriate for you. If you like to run your widescreen monitor vertically for different types of workflow, you can do that with this unit, and you don't have to worry about trying to reorient everything. It's nice and simple to do. So if we take a look at this top-down view of the unit, we have that option right here. So I'm going to push this, and it's not going to look right on my multi-view option right now, but you can see that if I've got my screen flipped, that's going to work beautifully, right? So yeah, I love the fact that they've got this functionality built directly into the unit. It's just a point of difference. And as I showed you before, we can change everything by doing the same thing, but in the back end. So those options are there. I love the fact we can change the channel name. So I've got mine set on the multi-view to main overhead lowdown, which was the prior one with my camera, which is currently now the computer. So if I want to change lowdown to computer, I can call it whatever I want, hit apply, and then you're going to see that pop up on screen. It says setup succeeded, and then I'll now show you my multi-view, and you can see that it says computer there, which I think is great. So it allows you to label each of the inputs for easy access. Up next, I'm going to talk about customizing picture-in-picture, because it can be done, but it's not the most simple. But the good news is, once you've got it right, it's then saved in there, right? So you sort of have to fiddle around a little bit to get it right, and I'll show you that on screen. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm also going to bring up picture-in-picture here, so you can see me on screen with this, and this is picture-in-picture 1, which is the one at the top. So to change the width and the height, I literally now have to change this to a different value. So I'm just going to do 600 and see what happens. Now, if you take a look on screen, this just doesn't look very good, and it doesn't resize the other axis for you to keep a good image. Now, you could argue that this is a better option, having more flexibility, but the fact you have to punch in a numerical value means it's going to be a little bit more of a pain for most people who have had less experience with this. So I would say this is more of an advanced user control panel than it is for someone just getting going. So you're going to have to spend a bit of time getting this right if you're going to be using the back end for picture-in-picture. Now, when it comes to the audio configuration options, much like the ATEM Mini and many other units out there, we can change the line to mic level input. Now, mic level input will have a lot more gain, right? So if you're going to be going out of something like a Rodecaster or any other type of mixer, set it to line. You won't need it on mic. But if you've got a standalone microphone, you can then use that, no problems whatsoever. One of the cool things about the HD video switcher is the fact that we can stream up to 4 different services at once. If we take a look at the back end over IP flow settings here, you can see that we have service 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for example, if you want to stream to YouTube, you can just name it YouTube, put in the server URL and stream key, and then you're away. You don't have to have all 4 filled. For example, if you only plan on streaming to one service, you can assign more bandwidth to that, and I'll show you that right now. So if we go down the bottom here, we can also determine how much our kilobits per second is. Being my internet's not too bad, I'd set this to probably 6,000. And we also have recording options down the bottom. Now, recording options is for that USB connection at the back. If you're going to if you're actually able to record to a USB stick or an external drive, you can do it that way. The great thing about this, if you can stream to YouTube, Facebook, wherever you like, Twitch, and then just set the bit rate accordingly and the resolution depending on your particular needs. And then the unit will stream directly to the web. Or, my preferred way, using Open Broadcaster software. Again, you can also use this just as a straight up webcam. So if you're on your own doing something like this, you can stream to YouTube just by hitting the webcam option and select that as your webcam, and then you're done. So I think this opens up a lot of possibilities for people wanting to stream to multiple platforms. Now, as I showed you earlier, it's nice and simple to put a logo on screen. If you want to remove that one over there, you go to the back end and go over to logo settings. And down the bottom of this page, you can upload a different one using this choose file option over here and then click upload. And then you can select which one you want on which number. So I've got the same test PNG right now on both. But if you upload one, it's as simple as doing that. Click apply. And then you'll see whatever logo you upload by touching the button on the actual hardware key, which is nice and simple. Another really huge advantage with this switcher over a lot of others is you can add what they're calling subtitles, which is basically on-screen text. And to access that, we use these buttons over here. So I'm just going to hit subtitle 1 for a moment and go back to this main view so it pops up, I think over here. There it is. It says subscribe. So we can select any number of these. Subtitles rock. This is awesome. And we can cycle through up to 10 different ones. And I'll show you that over here right now. I'm actually just going to turn the subtitle off while we're on this screen. So I can just add in my name is Shane. Hit apply. And it says setup succeeded. We can go back to whatever we want the subtitle on. We can hit it. And boom, there it is on screen. So this is pretty cool, and you can assign where you want it on screen, but that's almost in the perfect location for this particular setup, being that I got the blue backdrop. That will actually look, oh, it's over here. That actually looks pretty cool. Now, if you want to change up some of the effects or transitions using the back end of the unit through the web browser, we can do that as well. And as you can see, we get 3 effects buttons right here, which we can easily customize, and they're found from the application setting tab. Now, there's drop-down menus for effects button 1, which is hardware key 1, 2, and 3. And then we can change them to whatever we like. And there's a little graphic showing you kind of what's going on there. Top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left. And all of these other ones right here, you can probably read them faster than I can say them. So it's nice and simple to change them. Click apply, and that's it. Next time you go to use that effect or transition, it will be changed. Up next, we're going to talk about the recording capabilities when it comes to this HD video switcher. And yes, this is about 2 weeks after the rest of the video that you've seen, because I initially had a problem with the USB port on the back of my unit after trying all different types of USB sticks, hubs with little SD cards attached to them, and all kinds of stuff. I found out that the port itself was faulty. So this is a different unit, and it's worked flawlessly straight out of the box. I may have just had a dud or something like that, or maybe it got damaged in shipping. Whatever the case may be, this one is working without any issues. So this is very similar to that of the ATEM Mini Pro. Plug in a stick, hit record on the top, and that is it. You're good to go, and then the recording will be saved within the stick. You can plug it into the computer and retrieve it that way. Now, one of the cool things about the back end of this particular unit, you can specify the bit rate. So if you want a higher quality recording, you can set the bit rate higher, or if you want a lower resolution recording, you can also do that as well, or compromise somewhere in between, depending on the size of the stick. What you're looking at now is a comparison between the HD video switcher recording and my Panasonic GH5S. Now, my camera's set to 4K 50 frames per second. The HD video switcher is recording at 1080p 50. So there is a difference there in terms of the overall resolution. But I gotta tell you though, this records beautifully. I had a good look at the footage on my computer before shooting this section, and it stunned me just how great it was. It's easily on par with the ATEM Mini Pro. But the biggest difference with this particular unit to that of the footage straight out of the camera is it doesn't quite have the same amount of contrast, but being that it's a recording, you can plug it into Final Cut or DaVinci or whatever it is you edit with and bring that back without any issues. So I thought I'd just show you a side-by-side on just how well this records. So I would have no hesitations recommending this for someone who wants to get a really high quality file out of it. To wrap this video up, I'm going to give you my pros and cons review of this with the experience and context of using just about every other switcher on the market. So when it comes to this unit, there's a lot to like about it. I love the layout. I actually love the fact it's a little bit bigger than the ATEM Mini and ATEM Mini Pro. Now, you'll either like that or you won't. If you might not like it to be big, but I love the fact that the keys are as big as they are and all of the audio options is just so visual above each of the positions. It's just very, very simple. I love the layout over here. We can store up to 3 different effects at the touch of a button. We can also change the picture-in-picture and store up to 4 different options of picture-in-picture through the back end. A little fiddly, but overall pretty good. So in terms of a straight-up usability and the ability to bring in images through the USB 3 port on the back, it gets a big thumbs up. The audio side of this is fantastic. It's definitely one of the best. My only small criticism, again, of the audio aspect of this is the on-screen display on the multi-view. It's really hard to tell if you've muted the signal or not, right? So that's my only criticism. I wish there was a better or bigger icon on screen. That's something that could change in firmware, but it's definitely worth mentioning because sometimes I'm like, did I even have that on? And I actually left one on by mistake and I couldn't visually see it before. So now you're just hearing the Rodecaster audio. Redundancy, it's awesome. But overall, the audio options in this are fantastic, and being able to get a great sync straight to the recording or to your audience without having to tinker with a lot of stuff is fantastic. So this is the best at taking external audio and syncing it without having to do anything. So a big thumbs up. Another huge advantage to this unit is the fact you can change the multi-view to either vertical or horizontal. Just little things like that make it more usable for certain people who might want to run their monitors in a vertical fashion. So that's really cool. I love the logo support at the touch of a button. It's great. The subtitles are really cool, and just to be able to turn that on and off like that is great. So if you just want to put a message up letting people know where your Twitter is or whatever, you can do that as well. I probably should have done that for this video, but I didn't. But I just love its intuitiveness. It's very, very simple. So overall, this gets a big thumbs up. As of me shooting this video right now at the date whenever this gets uploaded, it's not quite perfect, but it's very, very close. I would put this up as one of my favorite switches that I've used, just in terms of straight up functionality. And a lot of people ask, hey, how hot does it get? Not that hot at all, and this video is taking me over an hour and a half. So thanks again for watching. If you want to find out more about this, links will be below. I'll leave a link up to my entire playlist of all the switches I've reviewed on this channel. And I'm gonna do a big comparison video coming up, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again, catch you soon. See ya.